Joe Madden. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Of course, it's gonna be one of the conversations because you do a lot of things in sports and all that good stuff. So, real quick, give us an introduction. Who you are? What is you do?
Oh, that's a big question. I go by Joe Madden Sports on all social media. So I'm in the sports betting industry. I'm a host and analyst for sportsgrid. So I absolutely love what I do. I get to talk and bet sports for a living. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, so there's a lot we got to get into. Let's start at the beginning stages, though. Like sports. How did you get yourself involved in the sports?
Okay, I really fluked into this industry. So I've always been big into sports. I come from a family where my brother, we actually moved to Canada at 15 when I was 15. So my brother got into hockey. I played netball growing up in Australia. So then I came over here and I played for Team Alberta. Netball, if you've ever heard of that, but super competitive family. My mom always went for the home team. My dad always went for the underdog. He was a little bit of a disturber out there in the crowd, always doing things like that. So that's how I got into sports. Always loved sports growing up and fluked into this industry where I was single. I was talking and betting sports and end up writing a huge rant that got picked up by a local company here. And they put me in front of a camera to be able to talk and bet sports. And the rest is history.
I love that. I love that. And I feel like sports is a big thing, you know? So with this conversation, we keep it wholesome. We keep it all that stuff there too. But how hard is it to bet on sports, but then have like your favorite player or your favorite team? Speak about that.
Okay, so I love going against my team. I think there's situations where you can go against your team because you actually know them better than you do know any other team. Do I like doing it? Absolutely not. And at the end of the day, I always joke I love money more than my team. Is it true? Probably not. I really do love my teams and everything out there. But I think as a sports bettor, you get to know the certain situations where your teams are going to struggle and you're going to see them. You can see the writing on the wall when they're going to go down to those other teams. And then when you bet against your team and they actually win, it's still a win for you emotionally because then your team has been able to come through and get the win. So I don't like betting on my team. That's the hardest case where you really bet on your team because you know there's that little bit of bias because you really do love this team and everything that they have going on about them. You're a true fan of them. And that's a hard situation because if you lose your money and then your team loses as well, it's a double whammy there.
I love that. You can tell like you have a passion in this, right? That's why I said the whole joke with the coffee cup, the cup of Joe, you know what I mean, and things like that. I feel like what comes up for me is what I like about you is you're you have that presence about you, but you keep it like relatable, you know? And I feel like when you're doing the sports selections, right? Because we're gonna get into all of that, you know, what's your favorite sport, all that stuff, and all that good stuff. You can see, and it's you make a fun side to it. You know what I mean? It's not like it's all about we're serious. This is what you're betting. This is the parlate. This is what you're gonna do. Clap, clap. You're making the money, you know, and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what the space really needs is someone that's relatable because at the end of the day, we see so many people in this space saying that they win, 80, 90, 100% of the time that they're on these hot streaks. It's not true. Vegas is around for a reason. So being completely transparent with your audience and letting them know, look, I bet on this team and this is why. And they absolutely didn't come to play. This was a letdown spot. And just being honest with people. Because at the end of the day, that's all people want. They want true transparency out there. And I think the industry needs so much of it. So I try to be relatable in this space and just be myself. And I really do believe when you're yourself out there in the world, you'll connect with so many more people than if you're this picture of what people want to see you as.
I love that. I love that you say that. So, was there anybody that you seen on TV growing up that you were like, I'm idolized by what they do, right? As far as like an anchor, or reporter, or sideline reporter, and who are they, and for what reason?
You know, you know what? It's really odd because I never expected to be in this space. So I wasn't a true fan of anyone until I really got into this industry. And of course, it was Joy Taylor right away. And it always has been Joy Taylor ever since. I just absolutely adore her and everything that she has going on. But there's so many powerful women in this space that I look up to, including Chelsea Messenger, Liv Taylor. You've got so many women across the board. So, but growing
Out of
up, no,
those,
I was an accountant before I got into this.
yeah, out of those names, is there one that you'd love to
Yeah.
like sit down with? Just sit down, maybe lunch, maybe dinner, maybe a drink, maybe build a
You know
par
what, Joy
latte.
Taylor? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Joy Taylor all day. I've actually had the honor of interviewing her on one of my shows, and it was such a pleasure. And she just has so much knowledge and so much wealth within the industry and so much to share that I would love to have a sit down dinner with her one day.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. Yeah, absolutely.
Out
So I'll have
maybe
to hit her up and
sometime
ask her. She's got
2024.
so much
Fourth.
going on right now.
No, for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I would love, yeah.
yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. When we think about like just you in sports, is there that one sport you want to stay like you stay completely away from, and why?
One sport? No, there's not really one sport I stay away from. I think when you're in the sports betting space, when you really don't follow a sport as much, you can start digging into those numbers. And I think my accounting background really does give me the ability to, break down those trends and look at things like that. I haven't really got into the Australian sports, which my family's kind of like, what are you doing? Like, you grew up watching rugby, watching cricket. Why aren't you breaking down these sports? But I've tried to stick to the North American sports. Football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. And hockey's become my big thing here, being a Canadian. And I think there's just a lack of coverage on the hockey side. So I've been digging more into that as the years have gone. But I love football. Football is absolutely my passion. It was the sport that I really fell in love with first in North America. So, and I'm a huge Chargers fan. That is my
You're a Who
team.
fan?
And
You
that's
like
because of
who?
Antonio Gates. Huh? Yeah, the LA Chargers. Come on.
Oh, brother, you're a Chargers girl.
I am totally. Who's your team?
A team that dominated the whole AFC for 20 years.
Just we can't even talk. Like, are we done right now? Is this
Yep, we're
over?
done.
Over and
It's
done
over.
with?
Game over. It's done. I'm gonna take my cup
Over.
and exit out the conversation.
take take your
Yes,
cup
New
and go.
England. Come on, New England. What do you got to say about New
Oh
England?
man. Yeah, well, I had a love-hate relationship with the Patriots. The hate side with betting with them or against them. You look at Tom Brady and Belichick, and when they were together, they covered the spread 62 point something percent of the time. The other 38 point whatever was when I bet on them because I couldn't bet for or against them. They'd do the exact opposite. So it was, I have a love-hate relationship with them. I was really sad to see the Patriots down spiral this last couple of seasons. It was a hard one.
Thanks. Really do appreciate that. I felt that right in the heart.
You should. I have a soft spot for Bill, and I'm actually kind of sad that he's not going to be coaching next year. So I really do think he was a goat. Lots of people saying it was just proof that it was just all Tom Brady. I think Belichick was fantastic. I think without Belichick, there wouldn't have been Tom Brady, and without Tom Brady, there wouldn't have been Belichick. I think they went hand in hand together.
That's controversy right there. That's controversy
It
right
is.
there.
It totally is, but I believe it. You look at all like I don't know. Tom Brady was amazing, and Belichick really did do so much to mentor him into that space. If you put him under another head coach, you look at Philip Rivers and the offensive line he had, and the time that he had in the pocket was so much less than Tom Brady. So you put Tom Brady on any other team with any other coach, with any other weapons around him, I don't think he would have been Tom Brady. He fell into the situation, and he's fantastic. I'm not saying he's not the GOAT. He is absolutely incredible. But I think everything was right there. And Belichick had so much to do with that. So you can't say he's not a GOAT without saying, you know, Belichick is as well.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Let me ask you this question because I'm fair. I'm very, very fair on this show. When I think about the Chargers, I laugh because now the Chargers are kind of like they're like mid tier. Those years with Philip Rivers, Antonio Gates, LaDainian Tomlinson, what do you think prevented them from winning a Super Bowl? Patriots not the answer though. I can't. You can't say New England.
Well, it was. You remember that 2014 season where Tom Brady just ruined our chances? I always think back to that game because I was watching with an obnoxious Tom Brady fan, and she just loved Tom Brady and nothing else. And I remember that pass that happened down the sidelines. It didn't go to Antonio Gates, and the Patriots won that game because of the miss pass to Gates. And I like wanted to cry, and she was cheering, and I was like, "What the heck am I doing watching with this fan?" But it wasn't the Patriots. It was Chargers can never stay healthy. The coaching for the Chargers has always been subpar. And we're looking at going into this season with the coach that could get us there. We look at Harbaugh coming in, and he has proven that he can take these teams to the next level. The problem is, I don't think we'll see many of the actual Chargers that are on the team right now reach the Super Bowl level if Jim Harbaugh can get them there. I think it's going to be a couple years, and I think he's going to turn over this roster a lot. I do think it will be built around Justin Herbert. That I don't think we'll get to that level because I don't think this is a quick turnaround. Some people are really thinking Chargers for Super Bowl next season. I'd be blown away if they could get there.
I don't even know if I can respectfully even agree with that. And I know it's a people's opinion. Chargers Super Bowl next year? No. Not when Patrick Mahomes is still is he even in his prime? I can't even say he's in his prime right now. I think he just
Oh,
and
Patrick Mahomes.
he just started. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's another 2 to 3 Super Bowls, not in a row, but I still think there's another 2 to 3 Super Bowls there. And then you got to think about Joe Burrow if he's healthy and whatnot too.
Well, yeah, Joe Burrows, when healthy, is unstoppable out there. And you hit the nail on the head. Patrick Mahomes is so phenomenally strong. You look at the lack of weapons he had this year. His offensive line was breaking down. The defense kept them in games, but I tell you what he was able to do out there, it was mind blowing. And you knew in that Super Bowl, as soon as they got the ball, that there was no way that they weren't going to be able to get the win there. So you put any other quarterback under that stress, and they just don't come out like he does. And he's just so phenomenally strong. So CJ Stroud might be another young quarterback coming up to that level that can answer like Mahomes, but there's no one else. And Stroud is a couple years off, but you look at him in couple of those situations where he was able to take the Houston Texans with 30 seconds left and have that pressure, but you don't see that out of a lot of quarterbacks these days. Like Joe Burrows is fantastic, but with 30 seconds left, would anyone be saying they're going to get the ball down the field and win this? No. But Patrick Mahomes, you give him 30 seconds, a minute, and you have confidence he can get the win. So he's
Absolutely.
phenomenal, and I hate to
Well
say
said.
that.
No, well said. Well said. Well said. And I think it just pays to the talent that's in there. Like I listen to a lot of X Spaces. I'm sure as you probably see the clips and stuff like that. And you got people that go like, "Who's the top 5 of this or the top 7 in this?" And it's like everybody has these opinions, but I'm like, you guys got to state the facts. Like when it was in the playoff run, I'm like, I told people Kansas City's probably going back to the AFC Championship, and they're probably going to win it. And everybody's like, no, they're not. They're banged up. And I'm like, you guys watch the game for the right now, and you just regurgitate all the conversation talking points from the industry greats, and then you formulate your own opinion. But I'm like, when it comes down to this is playoff football. It's playoff NBA basketball. You elevate your game, and when you elevate your game, that's where you produce the wins and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because playoff Kansas City is a whole different animal than they are in the regular season, and they're okay taking those losses. They don't love taking those losses in the regular season, but you get something totally different out of them in the playoffs. They know that this is do or die situation. They're able to step up to that level, and you got to give your hat or tip your hat to Andy Reid. Andy Reid's so phenomenally strong, and that Super Bowl really did come down to Andy Reid versus Kyle Shanahan and the chess match out there. And at the end of the day, Shanahan made mistakes out there, and Andy Reid just he went along with his game plan and he played a great game out there. And while the 49ers got up to start, you can never count him out either. right? The two of them are phenomenal. So it brings me back to, the Belichick and the Brady, the Andy Reid and the Patrick Mahomes, like the combo of those coaches together. And it leaves that big question mark of Sean Payton and who will be his, right? Patrick Mahomes, who will be his? It's just, well,
Sure.
it was Drew Brees with their New Orleans, but I tell you, Denver's in trouble. That's for sure.
I guess they got to play into the draft, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens.
No, for sure. You speak about you say your accounting background and
Yeah.
things like that. I know that when it comes to sports betting, you can't just go sometimes with your heart. You got to sometimes think out the box.
Yeah.
Speak to like the level one, level two system of having an accounting background, working with numbers, working with stats, things like that. And how does it produce with the online sports betting itself?
Okay. Yeah. So when you're looking at teams historically, it really follows the trends heavily in hockey. So looking at the NHL, you look at teams that really do struggle against certain teams, and there's no rhyme or reason behind why they do, but you really have to put that into factor, and you've got to look at how they've done against the spread against those teams and at home in those sort of situations, because those trends in hockey really stick to those. Looking at the accounting side, just being able to, I build a lot of Excel sheets, and I felt like keep my trends over there, updating them all the time. And it really does help me predict where I'm going to go with my bets. But I do think it's got to be more than that. It can't just be that side of it. And I love sports so much, I'm continuously watching them. So I'm watching them or I'm listening to them. I don't miss a lot of games. And the games that I do miss, I'm watching all of those highlights to see, because I think you really need to know these teams, and you need to know how players react under certain situations and how they play at different locations more than just the numbers. So I think you've really got to weigh everything into your sports betting. And it's a lot of time. It really is. And it's a lot of ambition to really care to know about this one player on this one team and how they're going to do under these different circumstances. And then watching everything, like you look at the NHL All-Star game, and a couple of those what do you call them, events that they took place in, you had goal scorers being able to pick out the goalie they want to shoot on. So you look at that and you have to take note of that, because then it's like, okay, this guy right here thinks he's got the number of this goalie. So then the next time they play, having that kind of information is pivotal, because if you're looking at anytime goal scorer, it's like, okay, Connor McDavid thinks he has Tristan Jarry's number. So let's look at him, how he's done historically versus that team. So it's a lot of watching and a lot of time just, researching how players have done in the past and keeping
Absolutely.
all that information together. And I tell you, my Excel sheet could crash my computer any day. I've got to like start zipping up folders because it's getting pretty crazy.
How much hours would you say you put into watching the game,
Yeah.
studying the game, and actually like putting the work in your spreadsheets yourself?
Okay, so I never wanted to do a nine to five ever. I work way more now than I ever did doing anything else, doing a typical 9 to 5. And people don't understand that, because even when I'm watching a game, friends are like, hey, can we come over and watch the game? 100% people can come watch the game here, but I'm actually focused on the game. And normally I'm focused on 3, 4, 5 games going on at the same time. So that normal like chit chat you get watching at a pub with your friends, it's not happening for me because I'm making notes and I'm doing that. My life revolves around this. It's kind of like, when am I not? There's a couple out, when I'm sleeping, a couple hours during the day when, I hit the gym or I'm doing like making dinner. But normally when I'm making dinner, games are on. So it's kind of a 24/7. I never thought it would be so in depth, but I think you need to be so in depth, and I love it. So it doesn't feel like work to me. So I try to explain that to people. It's like I'm working, but it doesn't feel like work. And I always get those, oh, you're working on a Sunday. I had a 4 hour show, 4 hour show yesterday, and I got up at 6 a.m. I was sitting at my desk. I was going over the whole schedule for yesterday, but I had started Saturday night after my show, and it doesn't feel like work because then I had a college basketball game playing while I was getting ready and doing everything like that. So I look at my schedule, it's like more so I'm working than I'm not, but it doesn't feel like I'm working ever. Feels like I'm just doing what I love.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I feel like I'm the same way when it comes to like combat fighting. A lot of like UFC
Okay.
boxing. It's different with basketball because you can kind of like whatever, but and navigate because you're
Yeah.
just watching guys just run back and forth. But it's like you sometimes want to hear the commentary. So that's why now sometimes when it's a UFC and you have a couple big UFCs coming up, I'm at
Yeah.
home. Like, no, we're not meeting up somewhere. I might go to one of my guys' house because it's like him and his wife. You know what I mean? And we just sit there,
Exactly.
we do our thing, we good, we're chilling. You know what I mean? And you can kind of like mute each other when there's a good fight coming on. So I totally do understand that, but like it probably also speaks to you said you have multiple games on, so you have like what, like a 2 screen setup, a 3 screen setup, 5 screen setup.
Yeah, most of the time it's five screens. So I bring TVs from all over the house, especially like, when you're looking at a Sunday football game. But a lot of the time, because I am on Saturdays and Sundays, it's here in my studio. So I do have the couple of TVs going on in front of my desk here. And then I do have on my monitor a couple of games going too. So there is always so many games. And then I'm flicking back and forth channels because you got to know what's going on in all of these games. It's just crazy. But I love Sundays when I don't have a show and I have, those five games going. And a lot of people say, like, why don't you just put on Red Zone? I can't just watch Red Zone, and nothing against Red Zone. I'll have Red Zone on one TV, but I feel so confused with the game flow because it's jumping back and forth. I love seeing that game flow and seeing, like, if they're playing a hurry up offense and stuff that you really don't get to see unless you're listening perfectly to Red Zone with them telling you that kind of thing. So I will have my five TVs set up, Red Zone on, the fifth TV and that volume off, but the rest of the TVs complete volume on. And it's funny how you can just pick up, even though all the TVs are talking over top of each other, you can pick up the sound on one of those games that's really, catching your interest at that time. So I love Sunday football days.
Of
But
course,
then
come on.
you got to add hockey on there, and there's so much going on, and it's kind of crazy.
No, for sure. So speak to your top sports teams. I don't know if you've ever been asked this question, but we're asking you here. We're asking you right here on this podcast. So run down your top sports teams. You gave us the Chargers. I'll let that one slide. But
It's
give us your
painful.
top teams.
Okay, my top teams are so painful. It's like if you could take a team from every league that everyone always has the hopes they're gonna, go deep into the season and never do, it's my team. And I don't know if I'm a jinx to my team, but if anyone wants to pay me to be a true fan of another team just to jinx them, maybe you should, because it's the LA Chargers, which we know how their years have gone since I became a true fan of them back in 2006, I want to say. And then it's the Calgary Flames. And we know the season that they're having in the NHL right now. This team absolutely struggling, complete rebuild mode at the moment while they got the win over the Edmonton Oilers. It just, this team struggles. So the Toronto Blue Jays, everyone has such high hopes for the Toronto Blue Jays every year. Exactly, right? And my daughter is a Dodgers fan, so that makes life even harder, especially with Otani and everything this year. So I'm never going to hear the end of that one. And in the NBA, it's really the Lakers. And I've always loved LeBron. And I know that becomes controversial. I know we're not friends anymore. I can see it. So, but it's been the Lakers. It's always been the Lakers. I love those LA teams. I still do love the LA Kings as well in NHL. It's something about LA teams for me. I'm sorry.
There's a lot to unpack with Joe Madden here, ladies and gentlemen. So buckle up, buckle up, buckle up. That's why we do pre-recording. So, because you know where I was going with this, right? This is why I
Oh,
tell you,
you're
like,
deleting me.
oh no, I'm not gonna delete you. Come on now. I give people their flowers, and what you do, it's a skill set. All right. It's a skill set. And I think it speaks to like when you put passion into your craft, into your work as a content creator, that you're trying to master your own development. You know what I mean? And things like that. So hats off to you and roses to you with that. But we're gonna go Lakers real quick. We're not gonna go with the
Huh?
conversation like whatever. You give me an order right now, your top five Lakers of all time.
Well, it's LeBron and LeBron and LeBron and LeBron. Come on. I love LeBron. That's why became a Lakers fan. There are so many players that I respect out there, but I've always been a LeBron fan.
So
I'm
you
sorry.
put late. You see, hold on. So you put. I love that we're
Come
doing this
on.
real time, right? So you put
Yeah.
LeBron over Magic Johnson.
Yeah. I've loved LeBron, right? When I started watching basketball, Magic Johnson, I wasn't that big into basketball then. So it was LeBron for me. It always has been. He's been my go to for the Lakers. And I look back, and if I had to do like a team before the Lakers, it would have been the Bulls with Scottie Pippen, right?
Where's the
And I
Jordan
don't,
love?
well, yeah, Jordan too, but I love Scottie Pippen. I don't know. I just want to, come on.
I see what you do. I like your thought process there. Okay, let's make it a little bit more easier for the Blue
Okay.
Jays. Top five Blue Jays of all time, including pitchers.
Ooh, that's a hard one. That's a really hard one because I haven't been a major baseball fan for that long, where there's a lot of baseball players that really have stood out to me. It's been more of a love of the team, right? So being up here in Canada, it's kind of been like they're the Canadian team, so you go with them, which I know it sounds absolutely terrible, but I'm in Canada. We've only got one Canadian team. We used to have the Montreal team back in the day, but right? I love it because it's Canadian. I'm trying to be patriotic to my country and my
I'm not
team.
patriotic to this country. I have no Canadian teams I cheer for.
None? Okay, so who's your
Zero.
team?
So we'll start. Let's go soccer. Soccer is Liverpool.
Yeah.
NBA is
Okay.
Minnesota Timberwolves. The
Okay.
top tier Minnesota Timberwolves
Yeah.
this year. Um, what do we got? Baseball is the Red Sox, which that's just a complete dumpster fire over there, right?
Yeah, that's a hard one to cheer for.
And then NFL is come on, it's New England.
Yeah. Okay, but we don't have an NFL team up here, so I give you
Not
that.
yet. We need it.
Not yet. Ugh, we so do. Where would they put it though? Toronto?
You really want me to? You want to get controversial, or do you want to
Yeah.
get?
Yeah, I want to hear where you think they'd put it.
It's gonna be probably Vancouver because that's all they think is in Canada. I feel like Vancouver gets more credit than Toronto itself. It makes zero sense to me. And yes, I did say that. So please
Yeah.
don't come for me, but I'm just saying it. Like honestly, Vancouver gets more push, and I can see probably the reason why. But I
Yeah.
think that if you're gonna do an NFL team, can it be held in Toronto? 100%. But you have to build a whole nother field, right?
Yeah. And I
So
don't know if the CFL would ever allow it.
they should. I think that, okay, you know what? I'll say it. I have nothing to lose here. The CFL is good, but I think they should make one big team. Try your hardest, make one big team. You have other development, leagues that guys can play in, but have one team or still keep the CFL and keep the NFL. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And figure it
I
out. I
agree.
think that we have an opportunity. But Vancouver can't just be the end all be all. Like Toronto's right here. Or you put a team maybe out west where you're at. Right?
Yeah. Oh, Calgary would absolutely love it. Would it get enough support? I think so. I do think Toronto or Vancouver makes more sense so than Calgary because easier place for people to travel to, especially from the States and coming up here to Calgary. We need it. And I still do think the CFL would be completely supported by their fans. I don't see much of a crossover, and I don't know how you find it out there between CFL fans and NFL fans. You're either an NFL fan up here in Canada or you're a CFL fan that gets into Super Bowl time, right? Like, I don't see that many people really supporting the CFL up here. Like, you go to the pubs, and I don't know how about Toronto, but up here in Calgary, they're not playing the CFL game with sound, right? That makes no sense to me. It doesn't make sense. It's mind blowing.
CFL, I'll be honest, from my personal opinion, CFL is good if you're watching it there live, or it's the Grey
Yes.
Cup. You're watching it, right? It's just this is how it is, right? Or you're watching playoff games and stuff like that. So it should be interesting in 2 years what they're going to do with the whole soccer situation because
Mhm.
Toronto's getting games, Vancouver's getting games, and then other parts in the States are getting games. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, if you guys know what you're doing, I hope you guys give Toronto the right games because the community that you have over there, a big Italian community, Portuguese, Greek, like if not one of those teams or at least three of those teams can't be playing there, there's going to be a problem because people want to see
Oh,
the best of the best.
yeah, I completely agree. And they really need to expand because I think there's so many people that are true fans of soccer out there and growing this sport up here in Canada, like it's growing in the rest of the states, I think is pivotal because people love it. It is a
Mhm.
great game.
Oh, for sure. Let's talk about even more deeper in sports because we got memorabilia, right? I'm not really a big collector of like sports memorabilia, but because I see a whole bunch of fancy dancy things in the back end. I see a Super
Yeah.
Bowl. I saw a Super Bowl football over there. What is that? I can't really make it
Oh
out.
yeah, this one is a Miami Super Bowl.
Miami Super Bowl.
So
Okay,
yeah, so
there you
that
go.
is that. I have a lot from ex players, so I have to take this one. Let me put this up. One picture up the wall here. I love this one. I'll get it back up. So this is, if you can see without
Yep, I
glare.
can see that.
This is John Elway, and this is Mike Davis from the Raiders, who signed this one. So he passed maybe 2 years ago this April, but he was the pivotal player back in the Super Bowl days for the Raiders, which would have been late 70s, where he was on the defensive side of the ball and he could never catch a ball to save his life. He got the interception versus the Chicago Bears in Chicago and got them to the Super Bowl. So I love this picture. This is my favorite one. He was a dear friend before he passed. So.
I hear you.
And then I have another talking John Elway up there. I got a whole bunch of stuff all over the place. CFL stuff. Got my little Philip Rivers shirt over there. I loved Philip Rivers. And then I've got like everything. Like people always say, because I'm a Chargers fan, probably don't have a lot of other people's stuff, but I've got a Chargers flag on my roof, but I also have an Eagles flag on my roof, which was signed by Harvey Armstrong that played for the Eagles. And I've got his helmet that he played for the Colts. So he was a fantastic player. I love so many different players out there in the league and what they're able to do. So while I'm a Chargers fan, I love talent out there. So
I hear
there's
you.
so much talent across all across
Hmm.
the board.
Hmm. Because I feel like female sports reporters, sports betters, they're in a league of their own, right? And you have social media,
Yeah.
and you have certain men, right, quote unquote, that'll be like, "Oh, she's a woman. She doesn't know sports."
Yeah.
How do you take all that in with the sports gambling? That do you think guys are just out there just saying that because they're trying to get a rise out of you, or do you think it's just because it speaks to who they are?
It speaks to who they are. And I'm finding it kind of sad as of late. I'm finding a lot of men, especially with Taylor Swift getting into football, it's kind of like we're seeing true colors of old school opinions coming out in younger generations, and I don't understand it because it looked like so much momentum was moving in the opposite direction. And I think the negative voice is always louder than the positive, and the negative voices have been so loud as of late. And I'm drawing a blank, and I forgive me for this, but the Oakland A's, their play-by-play announcer has been announced as Jenny, and I can't forget her last name, a female within the space. She will be the first female head announcer of the play by play games in MLB. And the negativity that was put on that announcement and reading those messages, and I don't read a lot of the messages under my posts. For one, it's either guys just hitting on me or it's the negativity, and you never get the positive comments. But I wanted to read what people were saying about it because I thought it was such a huge event for her to get that position. And she has all of the background. Her father was a head coach. She's worked in the industry for years. And so she absolutely deserved it. But then the comments saying things like, the Oakland A's are a trash team anyway. I won't be listening to them. And all of these male comments where it's just because it's a female voice and I don't understand it. So it's a hard space for females in the sports betting industry. I feel like it can go one or the other way. So there's a little bit of an advantage to females because there's not as many females in the space where there's an overload of males. So getting into the space, you have to know your stuff 100% because you do get challenged by men, but I think you get seen easier than a male. But I think at the end of the day, to stay in the space, you have to work 10 times harder because you have all of the naysayers saying she's just a female and she doesn't know what she's talking about. And it's hard when you absolutely know what you're talking about and then you get that hate, whereas a man could say the exact same thing and he could come out and say something completely wrong. One person would be like, dude, you said that wrong. And everyone would be like, yeah, he said it wrong, but he said a million things right. Where a female says it wrong and it's like, oh my God, see, we knew she was just a female. So it's a toss up between the two. You get seen easier as a female, but you have to really be on point.
There's a reason why I asked that question because I know in her early development, I don't know, you may know the name of Jackie Redmond. Probably because she does like a whole bunch of
Yeah,
stuff
I
now.
know
She
her
does like
name for
NHL.
sure.
She's doing like WWE now and all that other
Yeah,
stuff. And I remember our first interaction. So
yeah,
the city that I reside from, right? We were all out. This was young. This is young. We were like younger. And she didn't even break in the industry yet. This is when she didn't even go through drafted. And there was a basketball conversation.
yeah.
This girl stood up and stepped in the conversation. I exited out of the conversation because when she opened her mouth, I said, I'm gonna take a seat. Y'all deal with this. Cause I'm not even, I'm like, this girl starts spitballing some facts, and I'm like, wait a minute, how you know that? And she's talking about facts from like
That's
back in the
awesome.
day. And when you're in your 30s, you're
Yeah,
like, you're no more than like 20. What was she at the time? Like 21, 22, right? And I was like in my older 20s. So I'm
wow.
like, how you know that? Like, where did you get all that information from? And she's
That's
like,
awesome.
hey, she's like, I just do my thing. You know what I mean? And I was like, I respect that. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's amazing to see that because I think, yes, you guys do get challenged a lot. But I feel like there's a, how do I say this?
Yeah,
There's a way to really captivate that. I think a lot of men is just, it's like bruised egos, right? It's like with any topic or anything you get into, women will find a way and they can hold their own. Like there's certain people I wouldn't debate in certain spaces because I'm not trying to deal with that. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, if you know more than me, I can take a step
yeah,
back and be like, yo, do your thing. You know what I mean? And it's okay, but that shows who you are as a person, you know?
yeah. It absolutely does, and it's yeah. The female side of this, you've just got to be strong with a strong backbone. I think that's what it comes down to. But it's anyone in this industry because I do look at males in this industry too, and it is a hard case for males as well. So I think everyone just has to bring it to the table 24/7 when they're in front of the camera or when they're off the camera and really just get behind what they know and stick with it and never doubt yourself out there as well. Right? That self doubt, as soon as you start doing that, everyone's going to be able to see it.
No, for sure. Before we get out of here, any tips? Speak to the women audience that will see what it is you do. They understand what you do, and they may want to break into this industry also too. Give them three pieces of information that they need to really kickstart that career.
Okay, so my best bet for yourself is to bet on yourself, to come out and believe that you can absolutely do it. So you have to have that faith in yourself. And then you have to truly be yourself. You can't pretend to be someone else in this space because people are going to see through you. You also have to have that consistency. Show up each and every day. There's so many struggles that we all have in life each day. You can't bring that into your work. And if you're looking to make a space in this space for yourself. Showing up, doing your thing, and being consistent with it will get you to where you want to be. But if you take it as, I'm going to show up on a Monday and it's a Sunday and I'm not going to show up, it's not how it works, because this industry, sports betting, sports reporting, sports go on 24/7. So if you just decide because you have something going on behind the scenes, you're not going to show up on that day, people are going to realize, and people are going to go to the people that are there Monday to Sunday. So being consistent with what you do, and truly just believing that you can do it and showing up is all you need to do, I believe.
Well said. Well said. No, that's well said, and I respect that. I respect that. Where can everybody check out your brilliance on, social media and things like that? Your talking points, like I said, that give you the flowers. Like, you're one of the best, right? So I gander with some of the stuff. You do a lot of hockey stuff, so I'm just I stay away from hockey. I stay in my lane with like basketball, NFL when
Okay.
I'm betting, or UFC or boxing or something like that.
Yeah.
But where can everybody check you out and things like that?
Yeah, so on all social media, I'm at Joe Madden Sports across everything. You can also follow me over at sportsgrid, and that's where I do the majority of my content. So if you're seeing me on Instagram and TikTok and everything like that, that is more just the hockey side. But when you follow me over at sportsgrid, all of our shows, we do in-game live shows where we're going over everything happening in the space of sports on the daily. So you can check me out at both of those places. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I
I love what
appreciate
I
you.
get to do, and I love being able to meet people like yourself. So thank you for having
Yeah.
me on today.
We ebbs and flows. This is what we do, right? So anybody that has a story, they're captivating. We bring it here. We bring it here. Bring it on the platform. All that good stuff. So I appreciate you.
Love it.
All right.
Appreciate you too. Thank you so very much.
Anytime.